What's up YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how I made this poster design of Billy Butcher from The Boys. So let's jump into Photoshop. Okay, so this is the poster that I've made and released on my Instagram. I'm going to use this as a reference to keep coming back to. So I'm just going to recreate and go through the steps that I've made to show you how you can create something like this yourself. So first step is make a new canvas. I'm using 3840 by 4800 pixels is what I use for all of my Instagram posters. Then I'm going to bring in the image. So I'm just going to scale this up how I want it and sort of place it in a similar fashion to how I've done in the first. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the next step I want to do here is mask Billy here. So I'm going to select subject and then mask down here in the bottom right. And now what I've done is I've typed out his name across the whole page. Now you can do this in any size or format you want. It doesn't really matter. But I've just gone for the simple, just single line going the whole way across. So what I'm going to do here is hide this layer for the moment. Now what I want to do is subtract this text from this mask. So I'm going to command click on this mask just to highlight his outline. And then I'm going to command option click on this text symbol. And then I want to use command and backspace to hide it. So you can see now that the only thing that shows through is the text, which is the effect we're going for perfectly. Okay, so I've just gone back and made the text a little bit smaller. So just repeat that same step. It doesn't take very long, but I just wanted it smaller just so there's a little bit more detail, a little bit more of the image that's revealed. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Command Option Shift E. And this is just going to create a layer of everything that's on the canvas right now. And now I'm going to convert that to a smart object. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to create a blur effect. How similarly in this original, you see when I hide and reveal this layer, there's a motion blur and it just gives it a little bit more detail. With this layer here, I can just hide everything underneath it. I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to go up to filter, blur and motion blur. Now this is okay because we're going to put a layer mode on it. So it looks like a lot of it's hidden here, but if you just come over to layer modes, I'm going to put it on lighten. You can see it kind of adds this like blurry effect behind it, which I think tops it off really well. Okay, so now that the image is done, I'm just going to move on to the smoke effects. So you see in this original, I've got the smoke coming in front and behind him. So I'm just going to bring in the image of smoke that I found online here. These images are very easy to format. You can just normally use layer modes and it will give you a lot of good outcomes. So I'm going to put this on linear dodge and you can see already it shows a lot of it through. It blends in really well. And now what I'm going to do, because I want some smoke behind him and some in front, I'm going to go back on the original image, just reveal that, go on select subject again, just so I can outline him. And then I'm going to mask. But now I'm going to invert the mask so that it's just behind instead of in front. So I'm going to use Command I. And you can see here now I've got the smoke behind him. So I'm just going to duplicate this and just play around with some effects to get kind of what I want from it. So I'm going to put one on soft light. And then I'm also going to add one in front of him. So I'm going to invert that mask again with Command I. Put that one on lighter color. And I'll put this one on screen. Okay, so now I'll put the smoke effects in. I'm just going to group them in together in a folder. And now this is complete. Let's move on to the gradient map. Okay, so let's add in a gradient map here. So I'm just going to copy this one over from this original post, but I'll show you how. You come down here, select gradient map. And I have a few pre-saved, which I definitely recommend getting. Gradient map pre-saves are very, very useful. You can use them for anything. And I believe I selected one of these. So I wanted to set it in the colors of Homelander. So if you've seen the series, you know what I'm on about. So what you can do is drag up these color sliders and it will sort of set this color to the darks, mids and lights of the image. So there's a lot of room to play around with. I'm going to get rid of this orange. I'm going to get rid of the white and I'm going to make it more of a like, creamy white. So I just want the background a bit darker. So I'm going to drag this black slider up. And I'm also going to make it a little bit more of a dark grey. There we go. And then you can play around with the blue and reds, sort of bring them in. You see the effect that it creates when you just slide them up and down. So I'm going to set about there. And actually I'm going to make this a little bit more yellow. Background a little bit darker. And also once you're playing around with this, you can go back to the smoke and change the layer effects. And I'll show you how that affects it. As you see, when you change the layer modes, it changes the blending completely, so the light's a lot different. So sometimes you can scroll through this and you can find one you like straight away. I'm going to keep them how they were, and I'm just going to bring the background a little bit darker, or bring this color up. There you go, that's a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Now the color's done. I'm just going to move on to texture. Okay, so in this original, I've used a copy scan texture. So let me just bring this up for you. And you can see the effect it creates. It creates these horizontal lines, which I really love in a lot of the work I create. So I'm going to bring these into here. So I have these files saved, so I'm just going to drop them in. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop my texture file. You can use whatever texture file you like. I'll just select these because they're my personal preference. And I'm going to go and change the layer mode. And I'm going to put one on a lighter color, I believe. I'm going to put one on screen and bring the opacity down. And now once you've put the textures in, there's a lot more playing around you have to do with colors to make it reveal and hide the areas that you want. And I'm going to duplicate that again. And I'm going to put it on lighter color. And you can see here it changes the colors a lot, especially as there's a lot more gray in the image. So let's go back and adjust these. I'm going to put that maybe on 40 opacity, and that maybe on 40 as well, at 50. And then I'm just going to go back in the gradient map and shift these colors around a bit more. There you go. So you see a lot more colors revealed now. I'm going to push that up to get darker background. Bring these in. And obviously, if you want to, you can change the colors overall. You see how much of a difference it makes when you just play around with the colors. So I'm going to shift to about here. And now what I'm going to do is add in a curves layer just underneath the texture. This is further used to just adjust the lighting. I think I've got it pretty much where I want it. So yeah, and then the final step for me would be to add noise. Now, you can use it as a layer and just have it as an overlay, but I prefer to just use Command Option Shift E to just create a combined layer of everything in the canvas and then apply the noise filter to it. So you see here, I'm just going to put 5 on, and there we go. Okay, and the last step is I'm going to add in a film dust texture. Drag this over, and I'm going to change the layer mode to lighter color, just so the light scraps show through. I'm going to duplicate it and turn it so you can see a bit more. There we go. You can see these small scratches coming through, and I think it tops it off really well. And that is the effect complete. As always, thank you for watching. I hope it can be of help to you. Make sure you subscribe to see more design processes and tutorials. I'll see you soon.